We all remember being told as kids to finish everything on our plate because there are kids starving somewhere. Remember? Turns out, that's true. In India, hunger and malnutrition are on the increase, and all while we waste food in households. Let's see what one young founder is doing about this.
We at Rain Matter are learning about how climate change is affecting you and me. More importantly, what we can do about it. Join us as we speak with people who are working on solutions for India. Welcome to the Climate Conversations.
We may see statistics about how much we need to increase food supply, but part of the reason is that more than 1.3 billion tons of food is lost or wasted each year, which adds up to a mind-boggling 1/3 of global production. The proportion is even higher for fruit and vegetables. And it happens the world over for different reasons. Varun Raheja explains.
The problem is quite humongous. In India itself, we are losing more than 90,000 crore of product every year.
And why are we losing that?
Because the infrastructure is not there. The farmers doesn't have backup for their fresh produce. If we don't consume it fresh, it's got thrown away. This example, if I compare it with other developing nations like Vietnam, with Thailand, with Malaysia, or with Brazil itself, they process more than 50% of their total production. So whenever their farmers have excess produce, they process it. Whenever our farmers have excess produce, we just throw it away. We don't have anything left. Because the infrastructure in India is less than 3%.
Before we go any further, let's separate food loss from food waste. Food loss happens before it gets to us consumers at harvesting, post-harvesting handling, storage, and distribution levels. Food waste happens mostly after it gets to us and is by choice. And we need to be concerned about both. The global bodies like the FAO and UNEP look at both the food loss index as well as the food waste index. In today's episode, we focus on food loss in the Indian food supply chain, but we might have solutions at the consumer level too.
So if we consider the quantity of product which farmer throws away, so it's almost like 15% of the product got thrown away at the farm level. Almost 10% wastage happening in the supply chain, in the transportation, the wastage where it gets pumped out, or it got pressed, it gets spoiled, it gets decomposed. All these things happen on the middle level, and almost like 10% happen at the home level, the kitchen level. And even now, as we are moving more towards this supply chain of supermarkets and all, we are ending up another 5% where supermarket want the standard product every time. So if anything which is not standard never reach to the consumer plate, but it can reach to a processing plant. So these are the products which are not up to the standards of the buyer. So
What do you mean by the standards of
the
the buyer?
standard of the buyer is like big sizes. Like everybody's obsessed with the big
So
size.
if it's a small tomato, then
They don't
so
buy
it's wasted at the farm
the
because
farm.
it's small.
that bigger or small. It's not up to
That's
that
it?
size. Yeah, and then you also have a product which are like discolored. So if a tomato is red and green little bit, so it also get wasted. The biggest problem which I want to solve is the product which are ripen at the farm, which can't be transported. If we transport
Or
them,
because they got too late in terms of harvesting it.
yes,
And why does that happen? Because they don't have labor?
like the labor is problem, but the bigger problem is like the farmer will harvest not every day. They'll harvest like once in 3 days. So some product will ripen at one, day 2, day 3. If they do harvesting every day, they won't be able to reach to the market every day. They can go to the mandi and sell 100 kg, 100 kg, 100 kg. What they do, they harvest them in like 5 days and then send 500 kg to the mandi.
India's supply chain starts at millions of small farms all over India. These small farms rely on credit to buy the inputs and sell their produce to traders. The traders sell to the food processing companies, which then use distribution and marketing to add further value before selling it to us consumers.
The agriculture has become like a gamble. If you grow something, you don't know like what supplies you're going to get at the end. So once you come into a gamble, it's very hard to earn an income, and like there's no guarantee of anything. In the agriculture supply chain, other than farmer, everybody is a trader. They buy 10, sell it 12, buy it 12, sell it 15, buy it 15, sell it 20, buy it 20, sell it 25. Farmer is the one who invests at 10 or 20, but doesn't know at the end if he's going to get any profit or not. That's the problem.
And this post-harvest trading is where the food loss happens. Not only is this a human nourishment and farmer livelihood issue, but it's also contributing to climate change, as food rot releases methane, and there's wasted resources like land, water, fertilizers, transport, and so on, which all release carbon dioxide emissions. With this context, let's hear from our guest. Varun Raheja first got curious about this problem while still in engineering college.
Like the one thing which I was quite disheartened about is none of the farmer want their son to be a farmer.
But his real epiphany happened when, after setting up two small businesses of compost and briquettes, someone at the farmer market suggested that he meet a lady who ran a local NGO. He offered to intern with her, where he learned about how she was using a solar dehydrator from Germany to help tribal women preserve food.
Jimmy invented in India, the first man who made this tunnel dryer, just as a solution when he read the news about a farmer committed suicide in Vidarbha because he could not sell his tomatoes, perishable thing.
It's when he started using the dehydrator to dry some fruit and selling it to friends with the help of his mother that he got the real business insight.
When I started doing, like trying the product for myself, started taking it in a small packet to my college and I started selling it, until till that time I couldn't understand the potential. And as soon as I get into it, I'm like, this is the next, it can be the next big thing for a small farmer.
एक्चुअली है ना वरुण जो था वो कॉलेज में था, उसको नए नए आइडिया आते थे कि मुझे ये करना है, मुझे वो करना है। उसके अकॉर्डिंग इसने इंटर्नशिप करी, जैसे जनक मैडम के यहाँ उसने ड्रायर बनाया, बोले ड्रायर कराऊंगा मैं, इसमें ड्राइड चीज़ें करेंगे जो अपने यहाँ किसी को नहीं पता है पर फॉरेन में काफ़ी चलती है। तो इसका एम्बिशियस था कि मैं वैसी चीज़ें अपने इंडिया में भी करूँ।
Varun is the first person who took it as a startup, as a business and a company. He was very nervous. His mother was more nervous than him.
पर आपको लगता नहीं था कि ये मतलब एक और आइडिया लेके चला आ गया, मतलब इसका क्या होने वाला है, ऐसा कुछ लगा आपको?
कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा कन्फ्यूजन था। एक मदर हूँ तो उसकी जगह थोड़ा डाउट भी रहता था कि हम इसको आगे कैसे स्केल कर पाएंगे, लोग खरीदेंगे नहीं। आपको जनरली पता है इंडिया में लोगों को सस्ती चीज़ें चाहिए, जहाँ 20 रुपए में डजन 12 केले मिल जाते हैं तो वो 400 रुपए के केले क्यों खरीदेगा।
लेकिन हम लोग करते थे ना, छत पे जो है सुखाते थे।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल
हाँ,
बिल्कुल हम
तो
छत पे उसी वहीं पर शुरुआत करी हमने।
हाँ।
और उस छत पे जो एक कंपनी नहीं बन रही थी, एक रिसर्च चल रही थी, एक छोटी सी शुरुआत करी थी हमने जो इतनी बड़ी कंपनी में डेवलप हो गई।
हाँ।
और वो जो हमने प्रोडक्ट सुखाना शुरू करा, जो हमने कभी टेस्ट भी नहीं करे थे और हमने खुद ने सुखाए और खाए, हम खुद इमेजिन नहीं कर पा रहे थे कि टेस्ट कितना अच्छा है।
To see something, imagine, and then getting done at a larger level today, I'm so proud of Varun.
And you have two very strong women to guide you.
Yeah.
So basically, he improvised on the existing solar dehydrator design. All he had to do, as an engineer, was to make it transportable to take it to where it was needed the most.
We wanted to build something which is quite where like they can install it by themselves. The transportation cost is not high, because if a dryer costs 20,000, the transportation comes as 20,000 as well. So nobody wants to invest 20,000 on a big machine. So that was the biggest case, and that's where the inspiration from IKEA came in. Like, how can a company from a small country can rule across the world? I took an inspiration that let's make it DIY so that I can make it in Indore, send it to the remotest village,
Okay.
and they can install it by themselves.
Okay.
And the transportation cost, which used to be like 20,000, 30,000, can come up to like 2,000 to 3,000.
This is a fold pack
because
design,
it's a fold
right?
design.
Okay.
So other than being a foldable design, my design was also modular.
Mm-hmm.
So 20 kg system plus 20 can become a 40 kg system, and I can add up in it. The difference was more on the efficiency side. We created a model where the half of the dryer is where the drying can happen, and half of the dryer where the heat can be trapped. So I can double heat. So the solar energy can directly come on the product, but solar energy can come on the heating side and through a fan, the heating can go to the product.
Oh, okay. So if this is a dryer,
Yeah.
you heat only one small part of it.
On the one side, and then we have the fan.
And then the fan transports the heat into
to
the other side. Okay.
And then it takes out. At the same point, the solar energy is directly coming on the product as well.
Okay.
So which is traditional way.
Okay.
So it's double powered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for example, here where we are sitting, what would go here usually?
So usually it's blackened,
Acha.
and the base you can see is more blackened. But we can also keep a tray if you want to increase the efficiency. But on a smaller system, we keep it empty.
Oh, you keep it empty. This is where the heat trapping
Yeah,
happens.
heat is trapped, and
Okay.
then with a fan it can.
But nothing else, but just black.
just
floor.
black heat. Like we used to use solar black
Yeah.
like
Okay.
pots in their cookers because it traps
Okay.
the most heat.
Okay.
Most of the
okay.
heat. We also use solar panels in our model. They operate the fan. A fan controls the drying condition inside. If humidity goes higher, connected to the sensor, which control the environmental condition inside the dryer. So you retain a normal humidity and temperature where the product is going to be dehydrated. And Yeah.
So that the fan would sort of stop and start based on the sensor.
Yes, it changes its like speed on the condition of sensor.
That's when he also realized that he was stuck between two existing categories that sounded similar but are not. There are the sun-dried products, which have simply been dried out in the open, in the sun, but the problem is that they probably have dust and some other things that should not be there. And then there's electric dried products, which is subject to high heat and therefore is probably devoid of nutrition.
So what Solar Dry does, it dehydrates your product without losing the natural color, taste, fragrance, and nutrition. You don't have to add any additional sugar or preservative to preserve it because you reduce the moisture content less than 15%.
Okay, so what's the difference? I mean, if I dry it out on the terrace, just in the sun, versus in dehydration, why is the nutrition and color preserved?
So majorly, like, it's because of the controlled condition that you are putting in the open sun drying, you get a UV radiation, direct UV radiation.
You get UV radiation.
UV radiation. It decolorizes your product. It kills your nutrition, which is very bad thing because you are eating something for nutrition, not for the carbon.
Right.
So you end up with just a carbon. And at the same point, once you keep things outside, like you have dust, dirt, pollution coming in. Let me give another story which actually transitioned me to a solar drying. I was in Northeast working with haldi farmers. Because the best turmeric you can get is from Northeast. They have the best quality, high curcumin turmeric. I was visiting one of the farm and I got a smell that a very good turmeric getting open sun dried somewhere. I went to the farm. I asked the lady that where I want to buy it. She was like, I will ask my husband to give you the price. As soon as she went, there's a dog which came in and then he peed on the turmeric and we just ran away. And that's the actual situation. Chickens on the crops, you will find open sun, like birds are coming. We can replace the electric dehydrated one with the solar dehydrated one. The reason behind it, because there the quality and nutrition is not high. We can provide it with the product which we are ripening at the farm level, where we are not using any chemicals, any preservative or sugar.
But the electric dehydrator doesn't use chemicals, right?
They're
just using a high heat,
yeah,
which is what killing the nutrition and the color is changing.
Yeah,
right?
but they use a lot of sugar as well. So in their fruits, you must have seen during Diwali time that sugar coated mangoes, sugar coated pineapples are they are electric dehydrated. So why they use sugar? Because they don't use the ripened fruit. So they have to add a lot of sugar. We use a ripened fruit, so we have natural sugar itself.
Let's take a quick look at the whole process. First, the company teaches the farmers to wash, cut, and dry the produce. Then, once the dried produce is brought back into the processing facility, it is first checked and cleaned manually, and then it is put through a UV light to ensure that there is no chance of any infestation. Say, for example, you sell your system and we dry it inside.
Yeah.
As a consumer, how do I know that it was dried inside?
So we have certain factors. We have our in-house lab where we check the qualities. We also have microbiological tests as well, microbiological tests, which can identify if it has bacteria or not. If you dry them in a controlled condition, you don't get the bacteria. By the way, if you do it outside, you get outside dust, dirt, and that leads to a bacteria generation. So that percentage has to be very low. It can't be more than, but once you open sun dry them, you end up having those. At the same point, you get a lot of outside material when you open sun dry them.
Varun realized that farmers will not invest in a dehydrator or the time it takes to wash, cut, and dry unless they are sure that they can sell the dehydrated produce. So he decided to innovate the business model. He will sell the dehydrator with the promise of buying back the produce. He will then find wholesale buyers.
One factor that actually helped us to scale a lot is that we are the only company in the world who not just sell a machine but also buy back the product.
Right.
So whenever
that's something. So it's a business model, not the machine.
No, but whenever we buy back the product, I get a lot of data from the farmers. What happened during the dehydration, what happened during the environmental conditions. How do
you get the data? The farmer tells you.
So from the moisture content, from the quality of the petals, I can
get. Oh, from the actual produce.
From the produce, I get the quality of the product, and using that quality of the product, I can understand that how my dryer is working and what are ways I need to improvise. So if I just sell a machine, I will never get a feedback that how my machine is working, because I'm getting the buyback of the product. I know that how my machine is working and I can improve it. So every year we started improving the dryer. A lot of companies made dryer 10 years back, they're still using the same dehydrator.
In your own dryer, compared to the last 5 years, how has it improved?
So it improves on the controlling side. Now, like we used to train farmers a lot on the controlling side, that when the temperature goes high, you should do this. When the humidity goes low, when the rainfall comes in, now those things happen automatically. Okay. Our dryer can send notification to the farmer that your product is dried.
Where does it do that? I mean, I'm
It
looking
is-
at down.
It's a sensor system.
Oh, there's a sensor inside.
Sensor.
The sensor sensitive electronics, I mean, are they managed by farmers?
So it is not managed by farmers. It's already inbuilt PLC system, which we have integrated using our R&D team. So farmer just have to use their app where they can get the notification.
Oh, so they have an app.
They have a
Okay, what's in the app?
So app does control almost everything from giving them the demand, because they have to understand what are the products they have to dehydrate. What are the product that we are buying back from the farmer. So once they buy a machine from us, they can use the app to check what are the trainings they have to get trained for to become an expert of solar drying.
As we noted earlier, Raheja Solar would not be able to sell the dehydrators until he promised to buy back the produce. It started with rose petals, which had a ready market. It has now expanded into few other categories of spices, vegetables, and fruit.
So initially, once you start something, you always find mavericks to get your system. People who already have the market. So there are people who are already looking for the dryers.
Acha.
Came to me initially. So they had their own dried products market.
And
I
how
had to
many
convince-
farmers were like that?
So there were at least like 1,000 farmers. For 2-3 years, we were able to reach all across India, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh. Everywhere we were able to supply the dryers. And then when we started doing buyback, we started from a couple of states nearby. We were in MP, so we were like MP.
And what did you start buying?
So we started buying rose petals first.
Just where we were sitting.
Yes, so you
Okay.
must have seen the rose petals. And rose petals is an interesting thing. India is the highest producer of rose. We consume it in many places. We consume it in teas, rose tea we make it. We consume them over the sweets to make decorated. We also use them in decoration as well. And even in food, give a flavor. People also make sweets out of it. Rose petal laddu is also there. And also gulkand. So there's a lot of application which is out there. But the problem is, during the festival season when it is required, the fresh rate is so high, nobody is able to process. So you have to process them when it is abundantly available, and that's why the farmers have started buying the dryer, process it at that time, and then sell them. The festival season comes in when the sweet companies will run for it, when the gulkand companies when the pan companies will run for it. We started with rose, then we eventually shifted to tomatoes because sun-dried tomato was quite a common product.
Tomatoes, by the way, were the ones that were being dumped on the street. There were headlines everywhere. So what was the issue there?
There's a demand-supply gap. When the demand is when the farmers harvest, everybody harvests at the same time. There's no enough demand, so traders like buy at very cheap prices, 2 rupees, 3 rupees. And I told you, the cost of production of tomato is 5 to 7 rupees. If they sell it 2, it's a loss.
Okay.
Even in 2 rupees, they don't even transport it to the mandi. So they're like, it's better I just dump it over here instead of transporting to a mandi.
While Varun is not too keen about more value adding, which would require a brand building exercise, we did try some samples which were yummy, made with the dried products.
That I don't want to build my own brand. I want to become a back-end supplier for other brands because I want volume.
If you do build your own brand, then the B2B providers will not buy from you anymore.
So when
Because
I
then you
build
compete with them, right?
Yes, I will compete with them.
But you
And
don't want to do that. You
I
want
don't.
to be a wholesale supplier.
a supplier, so that I can supply to like 1,000 of brands. What will help me? I can support more and more farmers with when I bring more and more product.
Even though Raheja is reluctant to build a retail brand, he's open to packaging if a wholesaler or a large distribution platform assures a big enough audience. What did Zepto say?
So Zepto have very negative comments for the sugar-coated fruits and all. So they wanted something sugar-free. So they approached us that, can you do it for us? And then we are like, why not?
Cool. So this is basically pineapple and
Mango and a mixed fruit bar.
you can buy his product by searching for a solar dehydrated fruit on online platforms. Clearly, there is a demand for quality dried organic produce. Raheja would not have succeeded with the technology or the business model had it not been for the role of farmer producer organizations or FPOs who bring together hundreds of farmers in an area. How many farmers do you work with right now?
So right now we're working with 100,000 farmers.
100,000, 1 lakh farmers.
1 lakh farmers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Across how many categories?
So it's almost like 15 products. The category is almost 4. We work
Okay.
in fruits, we work in herbs, we work in vegetable and flowers.
We spoke with the leader of one from near Varanasi. तो एफपीओ पहले से था या आपने बनाया?
हमने बनाया वो।
आपने बनाया। तो जब ये डिहाइड्रेटर लेकर आए तो आपको क्या लगा?
अब आए तो हम लोग को रकम लगा, पहले कई चीज़ बताए, उस पर हमने ट्रायल किया। इस पे काम तब किया जाता है जब रेट सस्ता हो जाता है।
हाँ,
जैसे किसान का टमाटर हमारा पैदा हो गया, मंडी में नहीं बिक रहा है,
हाँ,
उस टमाटर को हम इस ड्रायर में सुखवा के बेचते हैं, तो हमको भी फायदा होता है और किसान को भी होता है। और 2-3 लोगों को जो महिलाएं हैं उनको हम रोजगार दिए हैं, जो डेली काम करते हैं। हम 10 महिलाओं को अपने समूह में एफपीओ में जोड़ के रखे हैं, वो काम करती हैं।
So we have better margins over there because we supply to the brands. So we call ourselves as a Robin Hood as well because we are creating the waste into wealth with the small farmer. where the margins are low, and we are selling it to the good brands who can use it as an ingredient.
So there are basically three interrelated problems that Raheja sets out to solve: food loss, farmer livelihoods, and greenhouse emissions leading to climate change.
We have like crossed over $1 million revenue last year.
Okay.
And we are growing super fast. This year we are growing 3x. So with the fundraise last year, we haven't invested in marketing yet.
So how much did you have to raise?
So we raised all 4 CR.
4 CR.
Yeah.
And most of it from Rainmatter?
Most of it from Rainmatter. So
And
they are
anybody
our
else?
lead investors. The other investors are Upaya, Willgrow, and Indigram Labs.
Okay. Are they all impact investors?
Yes. So yeah. So they are all impact investors.
So the main thesis for them was livelihood of farmers?
Yes. So they care about the support that we are putting in for the farmer, how much employment that we are creating, and how much carbon saving we are doing. Because when they end up into waste, they create methane. So we are solving that problem as well.
Okay. Just talk farm livelihoods in terms of when you walk in, what were the farmers earning, and when you, after using your process, how much do they earn?
So if I give you unit economics, for let's example for onion, if they sell in the market, they get an average of 5-7 rupees. And in the worst case situation, it's sometimes 1 or 2 rupees. For us, they get a minimum price of 10 rupees. For tomatoes, it's like 12 rupees. For fruits, it's like 30 rupees. For flowers, it's like 25 rupees.
All year round?
All year round. So that's a fixed price. So now farmer can decide when they work with us that if their price goes up, they sell in fresh. If the price goes down, they sell dry and give it to us. So now they have a independence that if I'm growing something, I don't have to throw it away. So that's an advantage, that's an independence that we wanted to give to our farmers from day one.
While the government is talking about cold storage to solve these problems, that costs more upfront and ongoing as it needs power. I like the idea of dehydration, if we can prove that the nutrition is maintained. Think about it. Most perishable items have water, which adds to the weight being transported. It would be better to dehydrate at the farm level and then rehydrate while cooking. It can sit on our shelves for longer so that we can address the food waste issue as well. If I can solve all these problems by simply adjusting my cooking a little bit, I'm up for it. What do you think? Do share. Thank you for having the climate conversation. I'm Hansi. See you next time.